When you're explaining gaps in employment, there's two things recruiters and hiring managers are trying to understand. Was it voluntary or involuntary? Meaning, did you quit or did they lay you off or fire you? And was it a short-term or a long-term gap? Okay, they're trying to understand why it was the length that it was. So if it's a short gap, it's no big deal, right? I got laid off, I found a new job, right? But if it's a longer gap, they're trying to understand, okay, well, depending on you quitting or getting fired or laid off, why did it take so long to get rehired again? Now, why do they care? Because they're about to put you in a position in which they want you to be reliable. And so if there's any sort of concern that you might up and quit, or if something's going to happen after they invest in training you and getting you up to speed, it's a valid concern on their part. They are truly investing in you. And by the way, depending on what type of job you take, it can take up to a year for you to even be valuable to them if there's a lot of training and developing, believe it or not. So they are, within their rights to try to understand this. But all that being said, it doesn't mean we have to over-explain. In fact, I think this is where most people make the mistake. They feel like they have to give so much information about the gap that you end up looking suspect. It looks like you're trying to talk your way through something. It looks deceptive. And so you just stick to the facts. Was it voluntary or involuntary, right? And how long was it? And a lot of times they're going to ask you, what do you think about the gap? Or why do you think it was that long? Because they want to see where your head's at. And this is where I teach people the experience plus learn equals grow model for answering this question. Because you don't want to share too little information or too much. You want to give just the right amount of information, as I talked about. And the way to do that is talk about the experience that led up to this gap, what you learned from the gap, and how you've grown from having a gap on your resume. When you can talk about that, when you can articulate that very simply, it's done. It's over. They get it. That's all they're looking for. But no one's ever taught you how to do this, so people tend to really mess it up. And I get it. I get your concern. But start with just the basics. Was it voluntary, involuntary? And what was the length? And essentially, why was that so long? And as you start to get better at this, you'll find your anxiety about it will subside. You'll answer it more honestly, more confidently, more succinctly, and people won't think twice about it. But that's the thing. You've really got to get good with that. If you want to get better with this, like if this wasn't enough information with you and you'd really like a step-by-step plan to go through this process, I do have a course called Fired to Hired that you can go watch for free right now. It's part of a 7-day free trial over at workitdaily.com. So go to workitdaily.com, sign up for a 7-day free trial, and go watch my Fired to Hired course where I show you step-by-step how to come up with all of this, because you don't want to stress about this. This is something you need to address, and I want you to get to a really good place with it. And it's important because they can tell when you're lying. Don't listen to the people that say, "Oh, just say I was under NDA," or I'm my former employer won't let me talk about the details. It doesn't work, folks. It doesn't. They're going to probe to understand because they really want to see that you can explain it in a way that makes sense. So you've got to learn how to not over-explain it and how to get it right, okay? So I hope that helped. I hope that gave you a framework. Again, if you want more help with it, go check out the Fired to Hired course. But you can do this, and I love that you asked this question, okay, my friend? Good luck. Go get them.